Do you pay the 2? How about the 4?
Time to experiment!
Welcome to MTG Unraveled, where we each choose a magic card and over-explain it to distract you from your current hyperfixation. I'm Rafa.
And I'm Ryan. And today we're going into rules, specifically tricky rules. Magic is a very complicated game, and there are some things that players go, wait, huh? Judge? And we're going to talk about them. So let's go ahead and start with your card that I'm not going to know.
Nope. It is 1 and a white, creature, cat cleric. It's a rare from Scars of Mirrodin, and it's a 2/2. A 2/2 for 2, the good old days.
King color.
So close.
Okay.
Okay, let me give you the text box. Players can't search libraries. Any player may pay 2 for that player to ignore this effect until end of turn.
That's so weird.
It's so bad. Why would you play this card over like Aven Mind Sensor? You only do it to troll your friends, and I'll tell you how to do that.
Okay.
Yep.
What is this card that I have absolutely never heard of?
This card is Leonin Arbiter.
Huh. Okay.
We're going to just jump straight into the rules. I don't need to explain how this card works. The rules will explain it all. So the first one is, if an effect says you may search your library if you do shuffle your library, or you may search your library then shuffle your library, you can't choose to search, so you won't shuffle. So the important part of that is the may, because the next rules text says, if an effect says search your library then shuffle your library, you shuffle your library even though you can't search. So if it's optional to be forced to search and shuffle, then you don't shuffle when you can't search. But if it's not optional to search and shuffle from the card, you don't search unless you paid 2, but you do shuffle.
Yeah, that makes sense, but it is not something that I would have paid close enough attention to.
No, and honestly, I only care so much if an opponent shuffles, if it's all supposed to be random anyway, in my opinion. Like, you shouldn't just shuffle your library.
Yeah.
But if you did it and it's like, oh, I shouldn't have done it there, oops, whatever, they're all supposed to be random anyway, as long as you aren't manipulating your...
Yeah.
So anyway, next one says, effects that instruct you to reveal or look at cards from the top of your library will still work. Only effects that use the word search are affected. I think of like Growing Rights of Itlamok. It says look at the top 4. Yeah. Or the Mosswort Bridge.
Hideaway lands. Yeah.
Yeah. Stuff like that. You can still do that. That's not searching your library.
Yeah.
It has to say search. Next one, since players who haven't paid 2 can't search, they won't be able to find any cards in a library. The effect applies to all players in all libraries. If a spell or ability effects has other parts that don't depend on searching for or finding cards, they will still work normally. So if a card does 2 things like search your library, put a land onto the battlefield, draw a card, you still draw the card. That's not a real card as far as I know, but if it might be, I don't know. But
yeah,
stuff like that. If one part of the spell requires you to search and do something, you don't search if you haven't paid the 2, but you still do whatever else that spell or ability says. Paying 2 to ignore Leonin Arbiter's effect is a special action. Any player may take this special action anytime they have priority. It doesn't use the stack, and it can't be responded to. Weird.
It is weird.
Relevant. Paying 2 doesn't let a player pick up a library and search it. It just allows them to ignore Leonin Arbiter's effect that turn. That player can search a library only if another spell or ability instructs them to do so. Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe this needs clarified, but anyone who's played Magic for a while knows, again, like you don't just get to search when you pay for this. All this does is allow you to ignore the card when you pay the 2.
Yeah, it's not pay to
search your library.
Search your library.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
That would be sweet. Who would play that card?
If a player pays 2, that enables only them to ignore Leonin Arbiter's effect that turn. Each other player is still affected by it. Paying the 2 doesn't fix everybody. It only fixes you. Mm-hmm. A player who has paid 2 may search any library when instructed to do so that turn, not just their own library. So I guess like things like opposition agent, that's relevant, right? You'd have to pay the 2 even if your opponent goes to search. You don't get to search their library unless you pay that 2. Once a player has paid 2, they may search libraries that turn as many times as they are instructed to do so. So you only have to pay the 2 once, maybe, to do it as many times as you want that turn.
Okay.
Last one. If there are multiple Leonin Arbiters on the battlefield, a player must pay 2 for each one before being able to search libraries that turn. So if you have 2 Leonin Arbiters, you got to pay the 4, which is not why I picked the teaser. Here we go. Here's the fun part. This is where you're going to make everyone think you're wrong, but you're right. You don't need multiple Leonin Arbiters. You just need blink cards. If you drop this card on the battlefield and pass with instant speed blink effects like Ephemerate, while an opponent pays the 2, then puts an ability on the stack or casts a spell that requires them to search, you can blink this creature and ask with a smug smile if they pay the 2 again. And so you would think that because it's the same card and same effect that you wouldn't have to pay the 2 again, but it's a new instance of Leonin Arbiter, and you can wait as long as it's their turn. So they put a search on the stack with a spell or ability. Then they pay the 2 because they have priority. They'd have to do it then before they pass priority.
Right.
When it gets to you having priority, you can blink your Leonin Arbiter, and then it goes back to active player, and they won't search unless they pay a new 2 because that's not the same Leonin Arbiter.
Does it have to do with like timestamp or something?
Yeah, it's weird because like you think like Ghostly Prison, you can't blink a Ghostly Prison at instant speed to make people pay 2 again.
I've never thought of that.
You can't blink a Rhystic Study when someone casts a spell and make them pay an additional 1 or you draw another card.
Yeah, because they're not casting the spell again.
Yes.
It's because this is a static effect, not a triggered.
Yeah, but it's weird because it feels almost like a trigger, you know? Everything else that's like this in Magic doesn't work like this one specifically. So if you want to troll your friends, this card sucks. Like the only reason I would play this is literally just to troll somebody. Why would you play this over like Oppo or Aven Mind Sensor or, you know, other ones that are just better than it?
Well, this is an older card.
Yeah,
those things didn't exist then.
No, they didn't. And it would be really funny to make someone be like, there's no way that's how this works.
Yeah.
But again, if you're active player and like they crack a fetch, you won't have a chance to blink because you pass priority. They put that search on the stack. Priority goes back to you because you're active player, and they don't have to pay that 2 until it gets to them having priority again. So if they pay the 2 when they have priority and then put the fetch on the stack, then you can blink it and be like, learn how the stack works better, idiot. But anyone should know, like if you're playing against this card for some reason, that's awesome. You have cool people you're playing with. If someone else has this card on their battlefield, wait to crack the fetch until it's their turn, because then you crack the fetch, give priority back to them because they're active player, they have priority first. And they would, if they blink it, nothing will happen. You haven't paid the 2 yet, goes to you, you pay the 2.
It's because paying the 2 doesn't use the stack.
No, it doesn't, but you still have to have priority to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that doesn't create another round of priority.
Nope. Yeah,
so
you
have to keep that in mind.
It's a special action. But that's the weird little rules. I mean, there was some complicated stuff before this we talked about, but this right here, how it's like counterintuitive to every other card that's like it in Magic, is the cool part to me.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird little niche thing. So there's 3 reprints of this card. Why'd they keep printing this thing? I don't know. They're not relevant. They're all, there's only 1 art though, even for all the reprints, and it's illustrated by Shelley Wan. It looks pretty cool for a cat, honestly. I'm not the biggest cat fan, but this one looks pretty cool. He's got some sweet armor on. He's sitting in a throne. He's like leaning sideways. He looks BA. I'm keeping it friendly. There's flavor text for this card. It says, our people are torn by infighting. Until the 2 sides reconcile, our laws can carry no meaning. So basically, like, he's putting a stop to anything until we can all just get along, pay your taxes. I don't know. This guy definitely tells you to pay the 1.
Oh, yeah.
This is legal in the usual. Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Commander, and Oathbreaker. How much do you think this card costs? With it having 3 reprints after the original. And it's such a good card.
25 cents.
Yeah. The oldest one's 50 cents if you want to pay a little more for some reason.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe you like pain if you're playing stuff like this. I'm not judging. Surprisingly, there are 20,000 decks on EDH Rec with this card.
How many?
20,000. I mean, it's not a lot. It's like point whatever percent. It's like there's not a lot of decks that are actually playing this, but 20,000 people out there are playing this card. Yeah. Weird. I have to assume like cat. Like they're putting it in a cat type old deck. And I do have a fun fact for once for this card beyond the complicated rules text. We're going to end on a light note. This card is a pun. So Leonin in Magic is a lion person, which is where this
Mhm.
card comes from, right? An arbiter is basically a judge.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Leonine contract, Leonine with an E at the end, is an agreement where one party receives all the benefits and the other one all the burdens.
Clever. WotC's development team
Yeah,
does some really clever stuff sometimes.
they are on point sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep. What do you have for your card?
I also have a cat.
Whoa. Secret cat theme.
2 white, black, green legendary creature, cat, nightmare, beast. It's a mythic, originally released in Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths. It's a 5/5.
I wonder what this could be. I want to leave now.
Because it's so bad. It's not. That's what I'm here to talk about. It's not that bad. Text box, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Mutate. 4 green or a white, black, black. Mutate means if you cast this spell for its mutate cost, put it over or under target non-human creature you own. They mutate into the creature on top plus all the abilities from under it. Death touch, lifelink. Whenever this creature mutates, return any number of target creature cards with total power 10 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield.
I have nothing to say to this. Mutate was a mistake. I guess I do have something to say to this.
It's fine. My card is Nethroi, Apex of Death. And yes, we are talking about Mutate today. It has such a stigma. It's not that bad.
It's not a stigma if it's accurate, right?
It's not that bad.
Dude, lies. Lies and slander. Don't believe her.
Straight into the rules, because that's what we're here for. First one, Nethroi's triggered ability can return any combination of creatures whose powers total 10 or less. For example, it could target 10 1/1 creature cards, 2 5/5 creature cards, and so on, regardless of what other creature cards you choose as targets. You can also choose any number of creature cards with power 0 as targets.
You kind of got me off in a tangent. In my head, I was like, I wonder how many different combinations of number of creatures and power you could come up with Nethroi. Like, there is a finite number, but I don't know how you'd figure that out.
A lot, though.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a ton.
The number of 0 powered creatures in Magic the Gathering.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's a lot. Holy cow. Yeah, it's like in the thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because 0 does not count towards the 10. 0 is 0.
I'm
can
curious.
take 10 0 power creatures plus a 5 power, a 4 power, and 1.
I would really love to see like someone who actually has a degree in math and could figure out how to figure this out, to figure it out and tell me how many different combinations of creatures you could return with Nethroi.
All right, well, while you're thinking about that, let's go on to the next rule. Use the power of the creature cards as they exist in your graveyard to determine whether they can be the targets of Nethroi's triggered ability. For example, a 0/0 creature card that will enter the battlefield as a copy of a 15/15 creature can be returned, as can 5 0/0 creature cards that will enter the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on them. It is a 0/0 in the graveyard. It doesn't matter what it is when it hits the battlefield. You're targeting them in the graveyard. If the power of the target creature cards change while in your graveyard, most likely because one has a characteristic defining ability that defines a star in its power, the total power of the creatures may become greater than 10. If this happens, the entire selection of targets is illegal and nothing is returned to the battlefield.
So if you target like Tarmogoyf with Nethroi's ability and someone mills cards and that Tarmogoyf ends up bigger, they just screw you over.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
You no longer follow the directions of the card. You get nothing.
You lose. Good day, sir.
Nitty gritty numbers. There is 1 reprint in Dominaria United Commander. There are 3 total arts. One of them is a reskin from Ikoria because they did the Godzilla themed card. So it's Biolante, plant beast form. Illustrated by Tornstein Nordstrand, giant Godzilla looking thing. Then there is a full art copy of the card illustrated by Tomasz Jedrzejczyk.
Perfect.
These names are throwing me.
I don't remember the card that well, but it looks like it's dying.
It's more like cartoony And then you have your base art, which was illustrated by Slaumer Maniac. I don't know. It's a K at the end. It's Maniac with a K. Maniac. The full art and the basic art kind of give the same general idea. It's a cat beast, nightmare, skeletal. I love him. I think Nethroi looks super cool, which is part of what drew me to him. There was one on eBay that was a misprint. I wanted to get it so bad, but it was like way more expensive, obviously, because it's a cool misprint. And it's that one, the full art, but the color didn't transfer for Nethroi himself. So it's literally just like a shadowed outline with the entire rest of the card looking normal. It was so cool.
That's cool.
How much do you think Nethroi is?
I don't know. $2.
So for the base art, you're looking at about $3. Full art goes for a little bit more, $5. And then for the special reskinned version, it's about $38.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Dang.
It wasn't the base set, so I don't know how many of those were available to be pulled. So the number that exists out there might have something to do with it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Formats that can use this card. Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Commander, Oathbreaker. You want to play Nethroi, you can do it almost anywhere. As for EDH rec stats, as a commander, he is number 351. So
Wow.
Some people are going out there and making their mutate decks.
This is more popular than the card from last week that I picked. That's a crime itself.
7,331 total decks. As for the 99, it is in 2.08%, 19.8 thousand out of 950,000 possible decks. This is one of my decks. I went, mutate. Let's do that. I want to do something different. It can't be that bad. So, in order to find the rules about mutate, there is a whole section in the official rules text.
Really?
702.140 is where you can find it. Part A. Mutate appears on some creature cards. It represents a static ability that functions while the spell with mutate is on the stack. Mutate cost means you may pay cost rather than pay the spell's mana cost. If you do, it becomes a mutating creature spell and targets a non-human creature with the same owner as this spell. Casting a spell using its mutate ability follows the rules for paying alternative costs.
Sounds so simple.
It's an alternative casting cost. When you put it on the stack, it's its own special thing. You target something that it's allowed to target. As a mutating creature spell begins resolving, if its target is illegal, it ceases to be a mutating creature spell and continues resolving as a creature spell and will be put onto the battlefield under the control of the spell's controller. So that's where it's weird, because if you, for whatever reason, can't resolve a spell with an alternative cost, normally that spell just goes away.
Yep, not mutate.
Not mutate. It reverts. Now it's just a normal creature. So instead of paying 5 for Nethroi, you paid 7 to just get Nethroi with no extra benefit. But you
Good
still
job.
get your creature.
I mean, it's definitely best case scenario if you're going to play mutate for the player who's playing it.
Oh, absolutely. As a mutating creature spell resolves, if its target is legal, it doesn't enter the battlefield. Rather, it merges with the target creature and becomes one object represented by more than one card or token. See Rules 730, Merging with Permanents. The spell's controller chooses whether the spell is put on top of the creature or on the bottom. The resulting permanent is a mutated permanent. And I think this is where people get confused. If you mutate a creature onto another creature, you do not have 2 creatures that do a thing. It's one. Not that hard. And while you're mutating, you pick whether the new one goes on top or on bottom so that you get whatever various effects, whichever one you want the basic characteristics to be, goes on top. Easy.
This is where people get confused, because I got confused a long time ago.
Next one. An ability that triggers whenever a creature mutates triggers when a spell merges with a creature as a result of a resolving mutating creature spell. If you go to mutate, target becomes illegal for whatever reason. Somebody swords plowshares the creature you're mutating on. You don't get the mutating ability. It no longer mutates. It turns back into a normal creature spell. You're not mutating anything. A mutated permanent has all abilities of each card and token that represents it. Its other characteristics are derived from the topmost card or token. Whatever is in the text box of each of your cards, the whole thing has. Anything that's outside of the text box is determined only by the top card. Any effect that refers to or modifies the mutating creature spell refers to or modifies the mutated permanent it merges with as it resolves. The hardest decision you have to make is, do I want this creature on top? Which, spoiler, most of the time you're just going to look at what the power and toughness of the creature is and be like, no, I don't want this to be a 5/5 anymore. I want it to be a 7/7 because hit harder.
What happens if you cast a Phyrexian Metamorph and choose your mutated creature?
It copies the whole thing.
All of it. Okay.
All of it. So that's all of the rules specifically for mutate. There was the merged permanents rules.
Yeah.
I didn't actually write all of those down.
What happens when you blink a creature with mutate?
They come back as separate creatures.
Yeah. How
So-
does that make any sense?
On the battlefield, it is one creature. If for whatever reason it changes zones, whether it is blinked, it is exiled, it is killed and put into a graveyard, if it's put into your library, outside of a commander, which obviously has its own little special commander rule, like always, they separate into their individual components and go to the specified zone. So if your mutated creature dies and is supposed to go to the graveyard, you now have 5 permanents that made up your mutated creature in your graveyard, not 1. If for whatever reason an effect tells you to put that permanent on top or on bottom of your library, you can put them in any order you choose, and you don't have to reveal that order.
Okay, I have another one. What happens if you mutate onto a creature that can transform and you transform it?
So that's part of the merging rules, and you flip whatever cards you can flip up to the other side, flip, whereas all the other permanents stay the same because they don't have a second face.
Intuitive. Easy.
I'm not saying all of this is intuitive, but you should not be frightened away from playing mutate because everybody goes, oh my gosh. Yes, you have to look up the rules. You have to know how your deck works. And there are still going to be circumstances where you're like, hold on, I didn't specifically see that case scenario. You're going to look up and know all of the basics, which are super simple.
See, my problem isn't, I'm not like scared of mutate. It's just there are so many things that happen in Magic that mutate makes you go, wait, how does this work? And I just dislike that. Like a lot of mechanics when they're added to Magic only really change what they're doing. Or maybe there's one niche case where this ability with this new ability we introduce causes a really weird interaction. But mutate makes everything almost, is what it feels like, go, wait, what the heck do I do here? That's my problem with it.
And it's your job as the mutate player to say, I know this, I looked it up, this is what it does. Or say, hold on, you're right, I haven't come across this one. I'm going to go look up the rules because this is a really weird one. If you're being a responsible player, you'll know the answer to most of the things that you're going to come across in most games.
Did you just say I don't like mutate because I'm not a responsible player? Fine.
You take your 35-minute storm turns, you can allow me 5 minutes to look up a rules text.
No.
Now, I built Nethroi as bracket 2 for a reason. Number 1, I wanted to focus on mutate. And again, it's very like Voltron-y because you just mutate one giant, massive monstrosity of a creature and it's really, really susceptible to removal. But it also, you're going to come across a lot less of those like weird things when you're playing at a lower power level because everybody's doing the base stuff.
Okay, I got one more. Sorry. What if you put an enchantment on Nethroi that makes it like, or on your mutated creature? I guess it doesn't have to be Nethroi. That makes it like basically blank, like it loses all its abilities, right? And then you mutate onto it. Does it gain the new mutate abilities, or does it lose that when it mutates? If you don't know, that's fine.
We took a brief intermission because I actually wanted to look it up. It is under, I should have just written all of these down too because they're so relevant. So 730 merging with permanents. It's 730.2c. Because a merged permanent is the same object that it was before, it hasn't just come under a player's control. Any continuous effects that affected it continue to do so, and so on. So, no, you would not get whatever the new ability is. It merges, blanks out, done, deal.
See, that's something that I feel like I could easily get wrong.
It is complicated. That's why I'm talking about it today. It is not the most intuitive, but it is so easy to find whatever you're looking for and figure it out if you absolutely have to. And then once you've come across it once, Boom. And so unless you're playing against someone who's being a rules lawyer and is like, I don't believe you, I need you to show it to me, then take the 2 minutes and be like, okay, here you go.
You have helped bring me to an epiphany. I am a lazy Magic player. I don't want to do that. I just want to, I'm all for learning new rules, new mechanics, all that. But when they're complicated and I got to look it up when weird things happen, not all the time, but it is more than, I feel like Mutate is the worst at it, where you're going to end up looking stuff up because you're like, I don't know. How does this freaking work? I'm just too lazy. I don't want to play it. I'll go play easier mechanics.
I don't play this deck all that often, mostly because it's lower power and that's just not my jam. But it's a lot of fun. Don't be afraid of Mutate or any other mechanic that people are like, oh, this is so much. Just learn the rules. It's not that hard. We play a complicated game. You should be ready for that.
Yeah. I'm over here shaking my head. No, I'm so, it is fine. It's fine. And honestly, I'm complaining about a whole bunch, but 90% of the time while you're playing Mutate, you're going to know what you need to do already. Like,
exactly.
If not more than 90% of the time. Also, you're just going to get Skewed Swarm and win the game with a whole bunch of mutated creatures. So whatever.
It's so great.
No.
To wrap up Nethroi and get away from the rules text, let's talk about lore.
There's lore for Nethroi?
Not all that much, but Nethroi, the Death Dweller,
Ooh.
is an apex monster of the Indatha triome in Ikoria. Big surprise, Indatha color combination. He has the power to raise the dead. Nethroi creeps through the buzzing frostlands, surrounded by the souls of long-dead creatures that hear its call, while thanks to its breath, their rotting carcasses lurch out of the muck in a terrifying mockery of life.
Yeah, that's creepy.
And the sages believe being eaten by Nethroi is the only way one can truly be erased from existence, as the monster's dominion over death allows it to consume both flesh and soul.
Yeah, no thanks.
It's so cool.
Steer clear away of that.
He's just a big creepy monster guy, bro. It's so neat. And it explains it in the art. That's why he's got like the little lights around him. Those are souls following him. It explains why he's all like skeletal and...
Yeah. He's like the beast version of the Grim Reaper almost or something. Yeah, like
basically.
Grim Reaper. Huh. That's cool.
Yeah.
Is Ikoria like secretly your favorite set? Because you have 3 commander decks with Ikoria commanders.
I know. I keep coming back to Ikoria on this show too. And I think it kind of makes sense though, because I love animals and creatures and beasts and like naturey stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense that I'm drawn to that kind of like aesthetic.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Ikoria is really cool. Let's go back.
What's better than Ikoria? Phyrexian Ikoria.
Yeah.
It'd be like your dream set.
Bro. That brings us to the end of today's episode. Before we leave you guys, we like to talk about something that we have been hyper-fixated on within the world of Magic or outside of it. You have something for us today. Yeah,
I kind of hinted at it a few weeks ago on one of our episodes, but I would like to just define a little bit more what it's like to be agnostic.
Okay.
Yeah, because I kind of hinted at it when I was talking about existential dread. I was like, I kind of just have the general belief that we don't have the ability to know, really. So to start, I would like to say that saying you're agnostic is much like saying you're religious, in the sense that that statement really doesn't tell you all that much about a person. Yeah. If someone says they're religious, that does not tell you much about their beliefs.
No.
If someone says they're agnostic, it does not tell you much about their lack of beliefs either.
No.
Although it seems black and white when you say it, their lack of beliefs, it is not black and white. So I'm going to use Wikipedia's definition because I honestly related to it quite a bit. Agnosticism is a position that questions the existence of God or the divine. On a psychological level, it is a personal attitude that suspends judgment without holding both belief and disbelief. In philosophy, agnosticism is often treated as a general claim stating that God's existence is unknown or unknowable, which I relate to. I agree that puts it in words much better than I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I usually get two reactions from people who are religious when they find out I'm agnostic. They either think I'm atheist, which is less common as time goes on, in my opinion. It's definitely something that is slowly getting more normalized. And I say slowly, like that word's doing a lot of heavy lifting, but it is less common. I'm pretty sure 30 years ago, people would have just been like, you're atheist then, for the most part. And now it's not always the case. Or some people have a tendency to think that means I would like them to teach me about their religion and that I'm willing to join their religion, where I am pretty set on being agnostic. Yeah. Those are the two reactions I get most of the time. I generally try to remember that most people are trying to help me when they're presenting their religion to me, which doesn't happen that often, honestly. But I do try to remember that those people are coming from a place that is good. They're not, for the most part, unless they're putting you down literally, they want to help you. Is the goal there. Being agnostic does not mean you're anti-religious in any way, shape, or form. Some people who are agnostic might be a little anti-religious. It does not mean you are, though. I have seen religion help many people on an individual level, and I'm all for it as an individual if it helps you. I know you don't quite.
My relationship with religion is so complicated because I grew up in a very religious family. I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 9 years. I was very embedded into the community. I went to church 3 times a week, kind of thing. And then as I started seeing, I saw a lot of them putting specific beliefs onto me that did not match who I was as a person, and being put down for that, literally being told that I was going to hell because I found women attractive, did not settle well with me. And so the next stage of my spiritual religious journey was I tried to find something that maybe fit me better. And I went through and I explored many different religions, never quite found something. There was always something in a religion that I was like, no, I don't agree with that. And the way that I see a set religion is, because this is how I experienced it, was you have to believe all these things. Either you're with us or against us. My next phase was, screw these people. Screw everyone. You're not going to put your beliefs onto me. And I went full atheist because agnostic really wasn't something that I had been introduced to at that point. When we were younger, it really wasn't as much of a thing. And then as I got older and discovered agnosticism, I was like, okay, this is where I fit. I have no idea. I am just one tiny little human on this planet. But there's also nothing that says, no, there's absolutely not.
Yeah, there's no chance there isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing that says that
in
either.
some capacity.
Yeah.
But I am more closed off to organized religion. You can be religious and you can have faith. And yes, if it helps you in a lot of ways, whether it be, getting past addictions or recovering from loss, or
it doesn't even have to be that deep.
It doesn't even have,
generally being a better person. If it makes you a better person, please do so.
But if in turn it also makes you a crappy person, because now you are saying you cannot love somebody of the same gender. You cannot be a person of color. You cannot whatever. If you are putting people into boxes and damning them because of it, then no. I have no sympathy for you.
No,
take your ideologies elsewhere.
That's why I had the caveat. If it makes you a better person, I'm all for it. I don't condone those actions either.
I think that it can make you a better person in some ways while also making you a bad person. It's not one-sided. It's not black and white.
No,
it can make you good in some ways, but it can also make you bad.
I don't want to fall into the trap that every religious person, even under the same religion, thinks the exact same way. So I'm trying to avoid. This is one-sided. There's no way for anyone who is religious to defend themselves, and I don't want to make a straw man that we attack.
Oh, yeah,
because there are some religious people who unfortunately have harmful beliefs.
Yeah.
I don't want to attack a straw man.
No. And I'm not attacking any religion in particular. Even though I moved away from Catholicism, I have met some amazing people who are Catholics. So agnosticism for me is my way of saying I'm going to live my life according to the things that I feel is right.
That sounds like a good way to go about it. Yeah. I also would just like to point out that some people will call it a cop-out to be agnostic because
I've
you
heard
don't
that.
have to make a decision. And I am here to disagree that there is scientific reason for being agnostic. And I'm not saying that everyone should be agnostic. I'm saying that it's not just a cop-out. So I would like to bring up a philosopher. His name's Karl Popper. If you haven't heard of him, he's a 20th century philosopher. And most science before Karl Popper was infallible, meaning like nothing has been shown to prove this wrong. So it's assumed right. It's more of, we have tried to prove it wrong this way, and we find evidence that's right this way and this way. It's infallible. This is right. That's the general kind of feel that a lot of science had before 20th century. And Karl Popper is not the only person, but it's a very good example. His works on what I'm trying to get at here. He introduced the idea that theories are all fallible, that they should all be considered. This is what we believe. It's most likely to be true, not because of the evidence supported, but because of the fact that we've tried to disprove it every single way we can. It's a very fine distinction. I hope I'm explaining it as best as possible. It's how I feel about most things. I annoy you sometimes with how much I try to prove things wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how much I make claims about not knowing anything. It's very frustrating to you sometimes, and I know that, but it resonates with me to always try and scrutinize and prove things wrong. I'm not going about trying to prove religions wrong. That's a losing battle. But I would love for people to adopt the opinion of, please try and prove me wrong every way you can. And that doesn't make me right, but it's what I believe. I just think as a whole, it would make things better.
All right, if you would like to find us for more Magic content and nerdy shenanigans, we are on TikTok at Dicentric Games.
If you'd like to share any of the quirks that Magic has hidden in their cards, join the Discord in the description. If you have questions or suggestions for the show, please leave a comment or send us an email.
If you learned something new, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your week.
Click all the buttons.
Do all the things.
And we'll see you next time. Bye!